go. All right, yeah, before we begin, this webinar is going to be recorded and we will be posting the recording to the Office of Energy Policy's VW site that is located on the Energy Environment Cabinet's website under Energy Programs. All information discussed today will be included in the application material, so don't feel the need to take an excessive amount of notes. Please remain muted throughout the presentation. We will have plenty of time at the end to answer any questions you have. We're going to be discussing the goals and purpose of this funding program, what level 2 charges are, the application timeline, who's eligible to apply, the cost reimbursement, the eligible and ineligible costs, the equipment and site requirements, the host obligations, the documents that you will need to apply for this program, and then our contact information. So if you have any questions along the way, you can get some help. Funding for these projects was made available through the VW Environmental Mitigation Settlement to finance projects targeting the reduction of nitrogen oxide in the atmosphere. The Kentucky General Assembly authorized the state's $3 million settlement fund for the installation of light-duty zero-emission vehicle, or ZEV, infrastructure projects. The total funding for the level 2 charging infrastructure initiative will be $765,000, and the remaining of those funds will be utilized for DC fast charge infrastructure. So info about that program will come out later in the year. These two initiatives together aim to enhance the accessibility of charging stations across the state. And the application will open on May 1st, and it will close on May 31st promptly at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The application is a virtual form that will be on the VW settlement page by the application start date, and there is a static link, but the site should be pretty easily accessible. And I'll put it in the chat later. So level 2 EV charging equipment offers 208 to 240 volts of alternating current, and it offers significantly increased miles of range per hour, depending on the power output of the charger and the vehicle's battery. It does require a dedicated 240 volt electrical circuit, similar to those used for like a clothes dryer. And the installation of the equipment will likely involve hiring a qualified electrician to ensure proper setup. The eligible applicants for this program include state and local government agencies in Kentucky. This includes school districts, municipalities, cities, counties, special districts, etc. The cost to implement an approved project will be reimbursable at a 50% cost reimbursement of the equipment and the installation, and the max award will be $25,000 for every project that is approved. Other costs such as design services and maintenance costs will be able to be used as a 50% cost share. The reimbursement will not occur until the equipment is verified as operational, and funds will be awarded on a first-come, first-served basis for approved projects. Eligible costs include new level 2 charging station units and the associated equipment, electrical conduit, signage at the site, bollards, cables, wiring, electrical service box disconnects, the paint striping and the stenciling of the charging station parking spots, and annual network fees up to 3 years. Ineligible costs will include leased, used, refurbished, or remanufactured equipment. So this equipment does need to be used, as I said previously. The charging station installation labor and concrete asphalt addition or replacements can be used as the cost share. There are many equipment requirements for this program. The first being that the equipment must utilize a standard J1772 connection. It must be Energy Star certified and open network compatible. It also must meet the UL Underwriter Laboratory standards for EV charging equipment and the minimum requirements for safety testing by a nationally recognized testing laboratory. Underwriter Laboratories is a NRTL, so as long as it's certified UL, then you will meet both of these requirements. It also must be listed and labeled as NEC Section 625 and FCC compliant. And it also must be constructed for use outdoors in accordance with UL 50 standard 3R. All of these requirements may seem a little bit complicated, but you can actually find them quite easily. I would recommend going to the Energy Star certification website and to view all of the Energy Star certified chargers. And then once you find one that is both Energy Star certified and network compatible, then you can look at the product specifications on the manufacturer's product website. And all of these specifications will be listed in those. The equipment must also be covered by a 3-year warranty and protected from vehicle collision, utilizing guard posts, wheel stops, curb protection, or some kind of wall-mounted barrier. Moving on to the site requirements. All sites must be compliant with the Americans with Disability Act, or ADA. In the application manual, we will have a link to the U.S. Access Board's design recommendations for accessible vehicle charging stations. This guidance should be heavily relied on when designing the site. Any project that is submitted that does not, for example, provide wheelchair access to these sites will simply just not be approved. The site must also not be located in a 100-year floodplain. We provide pretty specific instructions on how to determine that in our instruction manual. Obviously, the site has to comply with all federal, state, local laws, ordinances, regulations, standards, including local electrical and building codes. And the site must be available for public access 24 hours per day and 7 days a week. So it cannot be in a parking lot that is for, say, members only, or you have to pay to get into the parking lot, or it cannot be behind some sort of fenced community. And the site should be publicly visible, accessible, and expected to be used at a high utilization rate. Continuing on with that, it should be located in a developed public area with facilities available nearby. Level 2 chargers are best used whenever they are being utilized for 2 to 8 hours. And so shopping centers, fueling stations, restaurants, grocery stores, local attractions, local government buildings would provide a good site for those. These sites shall be in a safe, well-lit, and convenient location that is at a safe distance from traffic circulation. And these sites shall have or will have, as part of this project, adequate electricity capacity in order to serve the proposed EV charging. The site shall also have signage that complies with all local, state, federal laws, ordinance, regulation standards. In particular, the signage should be EV parking only signs on each side of the charging station, along with EV parking only stencil graphics on the parking pads. There should also be signage that allows the drivers to locate the charging station from the site entrance. And there should be some kind of method of secure payment that is accessible to persons with disabilities. This, at the minimum, should be a contactless payment method that accepts major debit or credit cards, and either an automated telephone number or a short messaging system. Although you can offer the charging free of cost if you would like to. You can actually look into products that specifically have these payment methods that you're interested in. And then obviously you should not have to require some sort of membership for use. The site host needs to be able to demonstrate an ability to maintain the equipment and customer service of patrons for a service period of at least 3 years. The charging equipment needs to be up and running at least 95% of the time. This is really important because inability to fulfill this requirement may result in the reimbursement of these funds at an equal amount to the reimbursement provided. And this is important also because the charging data must be made available to the Energy Environment Cabinet on a semi-annual basis for 3 years following the installation. And then the site host also needs to facilitate a 3-year site host agreement that delineates responsible parties for hosting, operating, and maintaining the equipment. And it needs to create some kind of disposition plan in case the agreement is terminated after those 3 years. Additionally, the site needs to have clear instructions and customer support contact information, which needs to be available at least from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. via telephone, Monday through Saturday. A lot of manufacturers will offer this service, so if you can provide some kind of clear instructions on how those services will be provided in the application. There also needs to be means of effective communication when one of your stations is not working. This also depends on the system you employ. Many chargers will actually simply tell the network that the charger is down, and in some sort of app like PlugShare, the charger will just simply show as not available for use. And then the host site needs to ensure that work begins promptly after the project is approved. And then the site does need to be operational within 12 months following the approval. Okay, so we're going into what kind of documents will you need for your application? You will need a budget justification form. We would like you to use our budget justification form, which will be available on the VW page. We need an estimated project schedule or timeline with specific milestones. If you are requiring electricity upgrades, then we need to know, when are those upgrades going to be done? If you're pouring concrete, when is the concrete going to be done, etc. We need to be made aware of all of the associated contracts or operating agreements, such as the customer service agreements between the manufacturer. We will need a map depicting the proposed location, including all of the roadways, and a diagram of the ADA compliant parking options. And then we will also need a document from your local utility describing the existing services to the site and what upgrades may be needed, as well as the cost estimates for those upgrades. This one's quite important because it will vary utility from utility, how long this will take. So it's important that you start that process as soon as you can. Thank you so much for attending our webinar. Here is just a little blurb to remind you when the application is open, when it will close. And we ask that you please use the KYVW settlement email for all questions. That will keep all of our communications centrally located in one inbox. And I will place the link to the page and the email in the chat box. And I'd love to open it up for questions. Anybody have any questions?
Haley, you might want to tell them that any additional questions that they might have after the webinar, that that we will collect those and do a question and answer document.
Yeah. So any questions we get, especially if we see frequent questions, we will put those in a combined FAQ document so that repeated questions are getting addressed. Can you please share the link for the grant app? The grant application materials will be available by May 1st.
I think it's the page.
Yeah,
I will just put the page in there.
That one. There is the link to our page, and then I will add the email address that you can submit questions to. Yes, the presentation will be put on the VW page. The recording of it will.
It's a month.
Why is the application period so short? We want to be able to go ahead and get funding out. We know of several projects that some local communities want to get moving. We only have $765,000 for this initiative, and we want to push it out fairly fast. Knowing the availability of level 2 chargers and how fast those can be put in, we don't believe that we will have any problem approving that much funding. Under Kentucky laws, no, you will not be able to put solar. Is that what that says?
Solar carports.
Yeah, no. No, they will not, because we cannot, that would make you an energy provider if you did that, and that's not something we can do in Kentucky.
Do we have any other questions before we hop off this call?
What's the question?
It says, would supporting infrastructure like best to support during power outages be eligible?
You can have battery backup that may possibly be eligible, but that's questionable as well. And again, keep in mind that whether you install 1 charger, 2 chargers, 6 chargers, we are limited to providing a reimbursement of 50% of the eligible program costs, up to $25,000.
Alrighty, well, if there aren't any more questions,
Federal funding.
oh, there's one.
What is it?
It says, can you stack federal funds with this program funding?
There are no requirements. This is not federal funding, so there are no prohibitions from that. These are funds from an environmental settlement, so that would not be an issue.
And yes, it is 25,000 per approved project, so yes, 25K per site. Regardless of the number of chargers.
Is there one?
No limit for applicant. Do you mean a limit on the number of chargers?
Again, I would say that there's a $25,000 reimbursable maximum that we can give. If, again, for 1 charger or for 6, 8, 10 chargers that a local community may want to approve. And an application will be per community. I will also say that you cannot order any equipment, you cannot incur any charges until you receive approval from this office that your project has been funded. And along with that, if a local community submits an incomplete application that does not put them in line for the first come, first served, it is only that first come, first served is for approvable applications or approved applications.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for attending our webinar. Again, if you have any questions, please send them through the KY settlement email. Hope everybody has a good evening. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.